Everywhere humans have left their mark, there is a story to be told. These serve as reminders to mankind. To Fayetteville, Arkansas, one such reminder is located at 118 East Dixon Street. The story lies in a time of a divided nation, war, and human endurance.
Welcome to Headquarters House, and we call it Headquarters House because it was home for the Confederate Army for part of the time, for the Union Army for most of the Civil War, and now it's the home of the Washington County Historical Society.
Front part is original, and then from the end of the hallway back is restoration.
Okay. The house was built in the Greek Revival style. The exterior is very white and very symmetrical.
Part of the Greek Revival architecture is that you have a central hallway and the rooms are balanced on each side. And so the center hallway and the two rooms on either side, that is all original. If you looked at the house from the front, what you see from the front, that's the original part of the house. Marion Tebbit, who was the daughter that lived here during the Civil War, well, not during the Civil War, prior to the Civil War, she wrote a journal, only it really wasn't so much a journal as it was a history of her family's life. And by that, we know a lot of the things that happened here, and we can try to recreate from that. She also described some of the furniture they had brought in from Philadelphia and things like that that help us to have accurate pieces in the house that represent the time period of the mid-19th century. The gardens are maintained by some of the Washington County master gardeners, and the flowers and plants in the front yard, they try to use 19th century plants and keep it as original as to the time period as they can. It doesn't mean that necessarily the Tebbit's family had these plants, but they know there was a nurseryman in Benton County, and he has his papers and things are in special collections, and we know what sort of plants he offered and he grew, so we know if it's on his list that you would have been able to have it here in Fayetteville also. So it may not have actually been here, but we know that it would have been available.
Matilda Tebbits loved flowers. They had flowers growing outside the house, and when they were on a trip to Kentucky, which is where she was from, they went by stagecoach or wagon through Missouri up to St. Louis. And on the way up there, she saw this beautiful flower in Missouri. And so she told the wagon driver, stop, I need to see that flower. So she got off, she said, oh, this is beautiful. Now, on your way back, she was telling the wagon driver, on your way back, I want you to dig up this flower, take it back to my house, and plant it at my house. And so she got his solemn promise that he would do that. He went on, took them on their trip, went back, and on his way back through, he dug up that flower, planted it here at the headquarters house, or what we call the headquarters house. And the flower thrived and did very well. It was beautiful. The neighbors would come by and say, oh, I love that flower. It's beautiful. Matilda, you must save me some seeds. And so when the flower bloomed and made seeds, then she distributed them to her neighbors. And so Marion, her daughter, believes that that's why there's dandelions all over Fayetteville and northwest Arkansas. So Jonas and Matilda Tebbits built this house. This was supposed to be their forever home. They had a grove, they had stables, they had a smokehouse, and they built this house. They already had 2 young children. They went on to have 4 more, and this was where they were going to live forever.
And then, of course, they had to leave because of a little thing called the Civil War.
Little do people know, a battle of the Civil War was fought right here in Fayetteville.
The Battle of Fayetteville happened right here on these grounds. So it's actually like a little Civil War battlefield in the middle of Fayetteville. And just the fact that the house has survived since 1853 makes it a significant part of history.
Now, the federal troops that were here were under command of a Colonel LaRue Harrison. The town of Harrison was named after him, which was established prior to the Civil War. He was an engineer. Here at College Avenue now, and where this road intersects, was where the front part of the federal troops were, with the Confederates coming up against them. The other part of the Union ambush, as it were right here in this yard. They were the L-shaped part of it. So when the Confederates come up and hit this line, they received heavy fire from the carbines of the 1st Arkansas U.S. Cavalry. From the side they were fired into by this bunch of men, which cut them to pieces literally in military terms. They piled up men and horses in a heap right there at that intersection. And even to this day, it is still called Bloody Corner. It was definitely a Union victory. Part of the Battle of Fayetteville is that Arkansas troops fought here. It was not the largest battle by any means of the Civil War, but that was the main significance of it, was brother against brother, father against son.
There was a bullet that went into the door, and it made a hole. And when the house was then being renovated, they took that door off and brought it inside just to preserve the door. So it's on an inside door, even though it was shot from the outside to an exterior door. When Arkansas seceded from the Union and the flag was taken down from the square, it was brought here and hidden in this house. Then when the Colonel Harrison came to the house and used this as his headquarters, the Southern Army came and they were going to surprise the Federal Army, but they were thinking, they knew what the house looked like that was the headquarters. Well, there was another house that looked just like this one that was across the street, and that's the house that they bombed, thinking that they were bombing the headquarters house. So the Tebbit family were Union supporters, and so were their friends, many of their friends, including Robert Graham. On the 4th of July, 1861, Robert Graham was visiting with Jonas Tebbit, and the children were out playing in the yard. Well, the mother, Matilda, called in the children very quietly, said, come in, pulled down the shades of the front room, and they were told to sit on the floor and not to tell anybody what they did. So they sat on the floor, and the family gathered around, spread out an American flag, and read the Declaration of Independence, and they very solemnly. And Jonas told the children, now, children, I want you, your mother and I support this flag. We support the country that it stands for. And for no matter what happens for the rest of your life, every day, every July 4th, I want you to read the Declaration of Independence. So this is what they did. And even when she was 90 years old, Marianne had been reading the Declaration of Independence every 4th of July. When they did this, there were actually Confederate troops just outside. And so to have a flag of the United States of America in a Confederate state, to be reading the Declaration of Independence, this was traitorous. So Jonas Tebbit was arrested by General Ben McCulloch on grounds of treason. And there were General McCulloch had several reasons for this. One, it was stated that Jonas didn't use Confederate money or script money, and also that he spoke strongly for the Union, and particularly that he was holding a flag of the United States of America, which we know that when the flag was taken down from the square, it was brought here. And when General As Botha first came to Fayetteville, everybody kind of knew that Jonas had the flag, and so General As Botha was sent here to get the flag. It was presented to him, and it was put up on the square. So then when General As Botha was called away and the Confederates came into Fayetteville, General Ben McCulloch had Jonas Tebbit arrested. And Jonas was sent down, taken in custody down to Fort Smith, where, in General McCulloch's words, he was going to be tried and hung. Matilda actually sent one of their slaves down to be kind of a houseboy, which was allowed for gentlemen to have their houseboy there, and the slave could then pass information back and forth. So General Ben McCulloch was then called up to Pea Ridge to fight in the Battle of Pea Ridge, where he was killed by a Federal sharpshooter. And his body was taken by ambulance back to Fort Smith, where he was dead already, but His body was taken back, and the surgeon took out the bullet that had killed him. And the surgeon had some connection with Jonas Tebbit, so he actually gave Jonas the bullet that had killed General Ben McCulloch. And Jonas kept it in his pocket for the rest of his life, and periodically he would pull it out and he would say, "I'm sorry that this is the bullet that killed a man, but this is the bullet that saved my life."
As for the more quirky stories of the house, there is a certain tale of General As Botha and his pet dog.
So General As Botha was a Hungarian soldier who came here and joined the Civil War on the side of the Union. He had a glorious mustache and a big, glorious dog named York. He came through Fayetteville. He marched right across the Tebbits' yard with his horses and his dog and everything, trampled the flower beds, trampled the hedge, and then he came back to apologize. And of course, Mr. Tebbits, he loved the Union. He invited the general to dinner. He came to dinner, he brought his dog. The dog sat at the table, and Mrs. Tebbits, trying to be all hospitable, brought out her last jar of strawberry jelly, and General As Botha fed it all to his dog.
The headquarters house is a physical representation of Fayetteville's past, documenting a significant part of the town's history. Through years of hard work, the Washington County Historical Society has continued to preserve the house for generations to come.